Morning, everybody. This is Mr. Decoteau from St. Paul High School in Worcester, Mass. Continuing on in our geometry lessons, we are now in Chapter 6, Section 4, which is Special Parallelograms, which is on page 329 in the textbook. This section we're going to talk about a rhombus. Now, a rhombus is a parallelogram whose opposite sides are congruent and parallel. So a rhombus has all four sides that are congruent. So basically it's a tilted square, if you will. Okay? But all four sides are congruent and parallel. Okay? So let's go through a couple of these theorems and then we'll do a few math problems. So theorem 6.9 states, each diagonal of a rhombus bisects the two angles of the rhombus. So let's say that this angle here was 110 degrees. That means this angle here would have to be 70 because if they're consecutive, they are supplementary. So if this angle, the whole angle here was 70 and this diagonal bisects them, angles 1 and 2 would each be 35 degrees. Let's look at this one here. Theorem 6.10 states the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular. So wherever they meet, they form 90-degree angles. Theorem 6.11 states that the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. So remember that opposite sides are congruent and parallel. So this diagonal AC is congruent to diagonal BD. Okay, there are a couple other theorems here I want to go over. There's really no pictures, it just reinforces the points. So theorem 6.12 states if one diagonal of a parallelogram bisects two angles of a parallelogram, then the parallelogram is a rhombus. Theorem 6.13 states if the diagonals of a parallelogram are perpendicular, then the parallelogram is a rhombus. Theorem 6-14 states if the diagonals of a parallelogram are congruent, then the parallelogram is a rectangle. See, what's happening now is we are slowly introducing to you different types of quadrilaterals and their characteristics. Right now it's pretty easy because we know we're only studying one at a time. What makes this difficult is when we do have a quiz or a test, I'm going to have rectangles and rhombus and parallelograms and kites and all these other shapes on there. And there's only particular rules for each shape. So you're going to have to memorize those and then put it all together at one time. Okay, which makes it very difficult. With that being said, make sure you copy down these into your notebook. I'm going to put the light on and I'm going to go over here to my left and we're going to look at a few of these problems. Okay, let's start over here with this particular rhombus. Okay? We learned that the diagonals bisect the angles. Remember, opposite angles of a rhombus and a parallelogram are congruent. So if this is 104 degrees, this angle here has to be 104 degrees. So I'm going to write that down right over here. Now, if this is 104 and this is 104, and these are supplementary, any way you look at them, if the two angles are next to each other, they are supplementary. So 180 minus 104, this whole angle here has to be 76 degrees. Now, since this diagonal bisects that, angles 1 and 2, half of 76 is 38 degrees. Okay? Now, oops, I wrote, this should be 104. It should be down here at angle 5. I wrote it in the wrong spot, sorry. Since this is 76, this is 76 degrees, the whole corner. So half of 76, these are all 38 degrees. Let's take a look at the next one. Now, we learned in one of the theorems that whenever they, in a rhombus, whenever they bisect, they form 90-degree angles. So angle 1 is 90 degrees. Now, if this is 58 degrees and this has been bisected, that means this is 58 degrees. So the whole corner here is 116 degrees. That means this corner here is 116 degrees. So angle 2 is 58. Excuse me. Angle 2 would be 58 degrees. Angle 3 would be 58 degrees. Okay, angle 1 we said is 90 because they bisect at 90 degrees. So in order to figure out 4 and 5, we're going to do 180 minus 116, which is 64 degrees. So this whole corner here is 64 degrees. Same thing with this. The whole corner is 64 degrees. So we're going to do 64 divided by 2. That means this is 32 degrees, this is 32 degrees. So angle 4 is 32 and angle 5 is 32 degrees, okay? Very, very important to figure out what the whole corner is, and then the diagonal bisects that, cuts that angle in half, okay? The last one I want to show you is a rectangle, and this states in one of the theorems that we learned, 611, that the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. So, we're going to set these two equal to each other. ln, so 5x minus 8 is equal to 2x plus 1. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So I have 3x minus 8 is equal to 1. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. 3x is equal to 9. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 3. Now we're not done. We need to plug this in to make sure that they make sense. So it'd be 5 times 3 minus 8. So 5 times 3 minus 8, ln, which is 7. MP is 2 times 3 plus 1. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is equal to 7. So that checks out. So where x is good. X is 3, and we've already established that ln, which we plugged in, is 7, and MP is 7. So it checks out. Make sure you check your work, please. If you have any questions, I will have a Zoom set up for tomorrow. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. It is very, very important that you copy all these theorems and postulates and these examples into your notebook. Thank you and have a good day.